This is number 2 on the Bootstrap Cinema. Let me get some junk out of my pockets here. My office is a mess. This week has been I have a very squeaky chair and I'm indoors in an acoustically ugly room. So that feels like a really, really fitting image and sound for my last week. Creatively, it was meh at best and downright depressing at worst. Nevertheless, I had some interesting experiences. First thing I want to mention, though, this is not a new thing for me, but it's something I always forget to do. And you'll notice that I'm really yellow right now. My screen's nice and white. At least it looks that way in the monitor. I shouldn't say never, I frequently forget to white balance. And that's really bad because you end up with things looking like this. And it's ugly if you don't. You have to figure it out in post without a reference. So I have this little guy here. This is my gray card that I usually use. It's really handy, and you can set your black and white points. So it's really nice for doing quick correction in post. And that's great. It's a little corny. You just fold it up, and it stows away in its own little bag, which is very nice. But it still, when you're out shooting and you pop one of these suckers out and let it unfurl in the wind, it feels weird. And so I've been for some time thinking, what if I went ahead and splurged and bought the little spider cube that some of you may have heard about. It's the same concept with some extra tricks that I need to learn. Look at that, you can see it. So there's the gray. You can adjust your angle for what you want. There's the white and the black point, and then there's a little hole there. That is a black trap to give you absolute black, I guess is the idea of it. It has a little mount on the bottom, so if you want to put it mount it on something, you can, what is that? I don't know, my size is 1/4 inch. And then there's the little reflective sphere that I guess helps you deal with, I don't know, figuring out what your specular highlights are going to do. Not sure, I haven't figured that out yet. Anyway, we should be well white balanced now. That's just one little thing that I've learned. When I first started shooting, I completely relied on my camera's auto white balance feature, as I did its every other auto feature. I took lots and lots of photos. I never did anything to them in post. They either looked great or they were special for reasons yet unknown. And so I shot lots of terrible photos and kept them archived on hard drives forever. And going back through some of those tens of thousands of photos from way back when, there's these ridiculous motion blurred photos or people doing things that they'd be embarrassed to not have a photo of just because they look corny. And I had no sense of aesthetic I guess my sense of aesthetic was so immature that I really didn't have the nerve to delete even really bad stuff. So my lesson from long ago today, so I'm looking at my phone because that baby on the way, is don't be shy to delete bad stuff. You're going to take a lot more photos, you're going to shoot a lot more video, and white balance. It's really cool. Now, my camera and most cameras have a way to auto white balance against a gray card like I just showed. I try to do that. But I find that if I do a 2-step rule, I usually remember to do one. One is go ahead and set your automatic white balance correctly, which I didn't do today. We had to correct this in post. And the second is then to actually shoot a reference in frame so that you can white balance against that in post. Anyway, yes, this is the level I'm at, basics. The other thing, two things. I have a mentor, actually 2 mentors that I meet with on a regular basis. They are people who graduated with degrees in film. They're producers, directors, screenwriters. I don't know what all they do, but they've seen it all, and they're really smart, really cool guys who have been giving me feedback on my screenwriting experience. So the first thing I want to reflect on is they've had me doing this exercise to try and capture a log line from my show concept, which is great. It's a high-level statement of what the show's about. And the thing that's been challenging for me is that this is bigger than not just the episode, but the season. It's the entire show, and I don't know what the entire show could be. My concept for this show is really just the first season right now, which is a story about 4 children who are 2 different families, brothers and sisters on both sides. They're best friends. Then this global pandemic hits. Anyone find that familiar? And they have to figure out how to be able to stay connected. This pandemic that hits them is not the COVID-19 one that we're all familiar with right now. It's actually based on a different virus that mutates and has some of the qualities of COVID-19, but it's much more deadly. And for that reason, it's even more reason for people to socially distance, isolate, quarantine even, and in the ensuing isolation, these children start to experience the effects of social isolation and how it actually has this, not just an emotional, psychological effect, but also a physical effect on the body. And they end up doing some crazy stuff, sneaking out at night and meeting up. And long story short, in season 1, they end up stumbling on a cure for not a cure. They don't cure it. They find a means for detecting the virus, the presence of the virus, so that they can quickly test to see if someone has it. And their reason for wanting to find it is if they know who has the virus, then they know who actually needs to isolate. So that happens in the first season. There's a lot of fun stories, sneaking out at night, building a secret lab, stuff like that. Next season, I don't know. I've thought, well, if that really happened, maybe they'd be super famous now, and maybe the thing that's threatening their ability to stay connected is some kind of dealing with instant fame, or people listening to this one thing they discovered but not listening to the other things they discovered. I don't know what it is yet. So it's a little challenging for me to create a log line that defines the entire show. And these guys I'm talking to said, well, you quoted somebody, forget who. Somebody here will maybe recognize who I'm quoting. That if the story ends, it's a movie. If it doesn't, it's a show. I think my story doesn't end because fundamentally it's about the importance of human connection, and it follows the lives of these 4 children as they experience different things as they grow, different challenges that threaten their human connection. So I attempted to come up with a log line for that. I'm going to, I don't want to go through all of the bad ones, but I'll give you a couple examples of bad ones. One bad log line was 4 children risk everything to stay connected as the outside world tries to tear them apart. Yeah, it feels dramatic. One that we liked, 4 friends discover the life-giving importance of human connection as their sheltered world is shattered by dark realities. We actually kind of like that one. The dark realities scared me a little bit because it feels sinister. It feels like there's some entity with malice. And this is really a story about children, friends that are victims of just reality. Pandemics happen. And I didn't want it to feel like, there's some boogeyman out there that's trying to get them. It's literally just life. Sometimes it sucks. Sometimes it's hard. So one of the other ones that we ended up with was this one. Their sheltered world shattered by harsh realities. 4 inquisitive children discover the life-giving importance of human connection and risk everything to stay connected. That's kind of where we ended. I don't know if that's it. But just to reflect a little bit on the experience, I initially struggled writing this, and at the end of my week, I meet with these guys every week, I felt like I had a dozen different options, and they all felt more or less the same, and I didn't really like any of them. But talking with these mentors of mine, they really teased out some value in it, and I was surprised. They had some ideas to add, some questions, but they really guided me to find the value in what I had come up with, in a sense. I mean, what we came up with together was definitely better. I'm trying to both, I guess I'm trying to say that what they offered was really powerful and helpful. But at the same time, it wasn't a sense of like they came in and did it for me. My creative process was actually, I guess, important, and I really think that's cool that you can struggle through this thing and feel like it's so terrible, and then with some helpful, insightful people coming in, they can be like, you know what, there's something here, and help you tease that out. So that was one thing. Another one, that kind of thing that I talked through with one of them afterwards. I shot a short video shortly after I got my Ronin 2 gimbal. And I've never really used that, the large style gimbals. I put my camera on there, and I was using it's called a Ready Rig with that, and feeling very awkward. And I thought I'd just try shooting a video of my son riding his new pit bike at sunset. And we kind of blocked out a shot, and I shot it, and then I took it into DaVinci Resolve and messed around with it a little bit. We did a number of takes, and I picked the one I liked, and so I sent this over and said, hey, critique me. What's good, what's bad? And I'm gonna play that now, and I'd like to just talk my way through the feedback I got, both to help me remember the things I learned, but maybe somebody else find it interesting here. And then, of course, if you have other insights, by all means, please. I really don't know much about what I'm doing. I'm just kind of winging it. So, with no further ado. So this is the video, and it's already at the end. Let's skip forward. So this is the video, and I'll just play it through. Yeah, that was the idea, the blocking that I envisioned for this. The feedback I got was interesting. First of all, was regarding movement and the choice. Because I wrote a note down on this. The choice to start close on his face. What did we call that? Slow disclosure. I'd never heard the term. Called it slow disclosure. Usually, he said, you start with a wide framing shot to help your audience know the environment that they're in, and then you start to tell the story in more detail. In my case, I started close up. You don't know the surroundings. You just see this child, young man, I should say, looking wistfully at a light source. And apparently the slow disclosure is great for kind of heightening emotion, a sense of curiosity in the audience. And that's interesting to me because that's exactly what I had in mind when I shot it this way. I wanted to create some sense of emotion. To be fair, I had no idea which emotion I was trying. Maybe wistful, I don't know. I was just wanting it to feel emotional of some sort. I think in retrospect it might be good to know what I'm going for specifically, but I didn't. This is what I got. So I start out with this close-up, and then the other comment was very quickly I go from that, I start pulling away, and then the helmet comes up. This was really interesting to me. The idea that camera motion, so if you start a shot with the camera still, and then you start to move the camera without any reason for why you're moving it, like if it's not obvious from what's already been in frame, why you're moving the camera, then the viewer's attention is going to be drawn to the simple fact that you're moving the camera. So the recommendation here was, we have a close-up of a face. Why do we start moving back? We don't know. We're paying attention to that. Then his helmet comes up. Oh, it's because he's getting ready to do more and we need to see more. So the recommendation was, well, go ahead and wait for that helmet to come up, then start pulling out. And you've given the viewer a cue as to why you're moving. If you have your own ideas on this, excuse me, please let me know. But I sensed it. I didn't know why. I sensed it when I shot it. There's like something's funky, and I don't know what it is. Next thing I do, zoom out, pull away. I'm using bad terms. Feel free to correct me. I want to learn as much as I can. Watch him put the helmet on. Then we come down, keeping his head in frame as he reaches for his gloves. Apparently that one worked because I kept his head in frame. That was the center of attention. And then he reaches for his gloves and starts putting them on. So that one, and it felt to me good. It felt to him okay. I don't know if any of this felt good, but it felt okay. Then this is maybe the big mistake. As he's putting his gloves on, just as he's finishing, I start to, I think he said the word is jib down. I was doing squats with the ready rig to his foot to start. Well, I wanted to kind of show this whole getting ready to go for a ride into the sunset kind of moment. So it seemed like a good idea. But again, there was this sense of something's wrong. Well, the reason why this feels wrong is, again, why would I leave the hands? And he explained to me that the hands are very important in a scene. They have a lot of meaning. They're the thing that we do things with it. I shouldn't have to explain it. It's obvious. Our hands are important. Our faces are important. He didn't say that, but seems to me that the face would be important, the hands are important, and for me to leave the hands without a reason feels off. I'm basically watching this thing that's interesting to me disappear off screen as I am instead shown something that I don't know why I'm looking at until I finally get down to the foot and watch it start. One thing that then happens is he starts it and almost immediately the camera stops jibbing down and starts coming back up. And that is actually something that I think works here because his foot goes down and his foot goes up before the camera goes up. It's pretty close. It's timed pretty close together. But because of that visual cue of coming up, it feels natural to bring the camera up as well. A number of our takes, I got the timing weird, and that actually felt really weird to have the camera going down and then all of a sudden going up. And I really didn't like that. And actually something interesting, I watched 1917 recently, which I really loved. But I assume they're using a gimbal because of some of the shots when they're walking through the trenches. It's like they'll be coming around a corner and then all of a sudden they're going like this. You really get this feeling that the gimbal was smoothly going this way and then it's smoothly going this way. And I don't think I would have noticed it except that I did this, and that sudden direction change feels funny. It's interesting to me that it felt funny in 1917 because they're going around corners, but I think what was funny wasn't just that it switched the direction of movement horizontally, it's that it switched so quickly. It's going this way and then suddenly it's going this way. And if it had kind of smoothly gone around, I don't think I would have noticed it. Awesome film, I thought. I really enjoyed it. Anyway, so we come down, come back up, we're back at the hands, that looks good. He had good things to say about the framing and everything here as he rides off into the sunset. I don't know why it's framed good. I liked it when I shot it. I think what I had in mind was, I'm kind of a sucker for the rule of thirds, but I'm also aware that if you always do that, you feel that you've always just done the simple thing. And I didn't want to do that, so I kind of, I don't know, split the difference. The sun's almost center, thirds, he's not quite riding down that line, but his trajectory kind of hovers around it. I don't know, it was interesting because this was more of just emotional framing than it was technical. I was kind of intentional about not letting myself do the technical rule of thirds, and I don't really know any other rules about framing other than that. Last, but certainly not least, he knows I have a nice camera. I was shooting S-Log, I have 10-bit. Everything in this entire shot fit within my dynamic range. So why did I color correct it this way? I really dropped the darks down into the black area. And he said it looked like a DSLR. It was shot on a DSLR. I don't know enough about it yet. Whoa. Sorry about that. Thought I had that muted. I don't know enough about it yet to really. Color's tough for me. Yeah, DSLR. I think he said Canon in particular has a reputation of looking this way. But I'm really just not good with color, and so I really like the kind of warmth, the moodiness. That's what I was going for. I've played with it a little bit since, and I think that bringing up those darks a little bit and letting the detail show was interesting. The big takeaway I took from that conversation was, if it's not dark, this is my mentor talking to me. If it's not dark, then nothing is completely black. There's probably exceptions to that, but the general rule, there's way too much black here for the fact that the sun is still up. So that was my lesson. I challenged myself to start shooting more and experimenting more with white balance. My assignment for the week is to do that, and also start reading a book, Creativity Inc. I haven't read it yet, so I don't know anything about it, but I'm looking forward to it. And I'll also be working on probably working on a large story framework for season 1 of the show I'm working on, which I'm affectionately calling Touch right now. Human connection. It's a big deal. Anyway, that's all. If anybody actually watches these videos, happy to hear from you, see your work. Yeah. But if not, hey, see you sometime when you rewatch your YouTube videos, Christopher.